Hi everyone, it's Kim. Welcome back to my channel, Lady. So today's video, I hope is just going to be like a cozy vlog where we just chat about books, drink some chai lattes, and just enjoy the late fall, early winter season. I don't know about you, but I'm not quite ready for Christmas. I feel like I'm still almost in like spooky season mode still. I just want to be like looking out at the leaves, watching scary movies, reading like witchy books. And so I think I'm going to continue that all November long. I know a lot of people are excited about Christmas, and I feel like the Christmas activities and shopping is like already in full force, but I'm just still wanting to kind of like slow down a bit and enjoy the season as long as I can. So I'm excited to share with you all the newest tea from Pique Teas. If you've seen my channel or Instagram before, you know I love their Sun Goddess matcha. And now for the holiday season, they have their own chai. They said this was their most requested tea. I'm not surprised. I love matcha and I love chais. And so I just made myself a little chai latte with the Pique tea crystals. And I really like that their chai is very spice forward. You can really taste the ginger and the cardamom. It's just so warming, so cozy. And since it is that like late fall, early winter time, I've just been loving it for like just like a bit of like mood boosting energy, some coziness, but with the black tea, some alertness, and it just feels so festive. Another product that I've been really loving for Pique during this late fall, early winter time is their Daily Radiance Liposomal Vitamin C pouches. These are so good. They're elderberry. Love vitamin C for my skincare, and so being able to take it as a supplement just really like brightens the skin. Like I said, increases like your radiance, and it boosts your collagen production, which I am all obsessed with like the collagen right now. And so this duo has just been the best right now and just really does have me in that like winter cold weather like season, but makes me feel like very like prepared for it. And so if you are interested in any products from Pique, if you haven't tried their Sun Goddess matcha, or if you want to get your hands on their chai, it's so good. I'll have a link down in the description code, and the chai is a limited edition tea going on this week with, I believe, $150 purchase. So if you want to get your hands on this, stock up on some of your favorite Pique teas, and make sure to click on the link and add this on as your bonus because it is so, so good. So with that, I'm going to continue sipping my tea, and let's just chat about like fall, winter books. And yeah, I'm excited to kind of share some of my thoughts. I do have some probably unpopular opinions about books, so let me know down below what you think, if you totally disagree with me, or if you're kind of on the same page. I would love to know. So let me start with my current reads, some things I recently read for October, and then what I am reading this November, and also share my winter TBR and yeah, just some of my bookish thoughts. So let me grab that stack. So the book that I'm currently reading, I'm almost done, and I'm so glad I put this on my reading list, and I'm like recommending it to everyone, is Ghosts by Edith Wharton. So you may have heard of Edith Wharton with Thinking of like the Age of Innocence, which I haven't read. This is my first book that I've read from Edith Wharton, and this is a collection of short stories that are ghost stories. And so I thought that was perfectly aligned with a holiday spooky reading list. And I also thought the short stories might be a good way to read some of Edith Wharton's work and to get more familiar with like late 19th century, early 20th century writing. I'm kind of on a classic kick right now where I've just been finding that I've been reading like some new modern releases and I've enjoyed them. They've been fun. I'm like, oh, that was like a fun story, but it's nothing that I'm really like sinking my teeth into as much. It's not things that I'm like thinking about long after I've read them, or that I'm finding like wanting to write down quotes or just really think about. And I'm kind of been like, okay, maybe if I like look towards some of the classics, I might find that. And I've been highlighting so many like different just phrases of things, like some of the figurative speech. And I love that I have to like look up words. I'm like, I have no idea what that word means. I know I want to incorporate it in my vocabulary, and I'm really loving it. And I find that I think that I've found a good way to dive into some classics without being as intimidated. I've had like a few times in my life where I've wanted to read more classics, and it can be a bit daunting because it is written, depending on like the author, in a way that's not as inherent as like easy to catch on to as some of like the newer reads. Even the more literary reads just don't have the same kind of like cadence to them. But yeah, I've been loving this. And if you're like, oh, well, like spooky season is over, I don't need to read some ghost stories, a lot of these are set in like a snowy winter scene. So I think this would be perfect for like a winter to be read book list, because there are a lot in that like bleak winter snowy atmosphere. Think like A Christmas Carol, how that's kind of like it's a ghost story but set in like Christmas winter time. So I really love this. I have like 3 stories left, and I'll just be like reading a passage, and then I like can't help but like want to share like the whole story that I'm reading, and just, oh, it's so good. And this printing press is New York Review Books, and the paper is just, it's so good, and it works so well to highlight. Just, I've been highlighting away with this, and so I think this will be a one that I'll like reread over and over again, because the stories, they're so good. So I think this is a really good one to get into classics. Like I said, I am looking up quite a few words, but the way that it's written, like I think most of these stories are probably written in like 1920s, but they're really, really good. Some other classics that I read this past month that I think would be good, like pretty good like intro ones. Tea break is Lord of the Flies. It's pretty short. I read it in a weekend, and this was written in the 50s, I believe, and so it's not so classic where it's like the late 1800s and you're like, what are people talking about? It's really very readable. You just realize after reading it how many modern shows and books are based around this or influenced by Lord of the Flies, and so I think this is a great one to read. I think that's another reason why I've been really liking reading classics. You can see the inspiration from your favorite books or a book that you're reading now, like what they were inspired by. And so this is a really good one. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's just something you just like think about. And I didn't want to highlight it because at first I wasn't a big like annotator, but I would like keep taking pictures of all of the quotes that I liked. And so I have so many pictures of these pages like in my phone that I need to put down onto paper because it was just so good. And now, like I said, you'll see the inspiration, the homage everywhere after reading this. Another book that this was actually mentioned in the, I think it's like there's a postscript about some of William Golding's inspiration, and that was Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. Again, this is like a very short read. This one did surprisingly take me longer, I think, than Lord of the Flies to read, even though it was much shorter. Like this book has 2 stories in it, and I think it is just because it is older. This is like the late 1800s, I believe. Let me look up just look how old these pages are. That's another fun reason. So you can really find a lot of these in like the used bookstores and thrift books. Yeah, the copyright is 1910, and this edition was published in 1950. And yeah, so it was a bit harder to read, and like some things were, but again, like it's just, I was just, all of the language was just so beautiful, and it really captured kind of like the thought process of the characters in a way that was describing it to you, but also like having you feel it. So I really liked Heart of Darkness, and as I was reading, I was like, this plot seems so familiar to me, and like sure enough, a lot of modern TV shows and movies and books have based their story around Heart of Darkness. But the one in particular I was thinking of was Anne Patchett's State of Wonder, which is almost, I haven't read State of Wonder in a while, but I feel like there were a few scenes like riding down the like rivers and canals that were, I think, like dead on relating back to Heart of Darkness. One of the, I don't know if anyone else has found like this niche genre of book, but like and I told you I'm just gonna be like rambling on about books. There's like not gonna be, I don't have this organized. I just have a lot of bookish thoughts going on right now that I wanted to share with you all. So this genre that like first got me back into reading in like probably like 2014 were the Anthropology books. So hear me out. They're like historical fiction, dark academia, but not in the library, dark academia like in the field. And there's actually quite a few of them. So I read Anne Patchett's State of Wonder. So these are like anthropologists meeting new people like that were in an isolated location, learning from them. There's like some scientific mystery going on that the outsider is trying to understand. Themes of like colonialism and globalization and all of that. So Anne Patchett's State of Wonder. There's Lily King's Euphoria. That was another one that had like, I think, a bit of like a romance in it, if I remember correctly. And I think again, like really inspired by Heart of Darkness. Hanya Yagahari's The People in the Trees, which that is one of my favorite books. It is dark and disturbing, but I think it does tell like a really important message about like great men, like the great man theory. And can you have someone who is this ambitious person that does a lot of good society, but is actually like a horrible human being? And so I think that kind of really fits in with the Heart of Darkness. But those are my book recommendations for this like anthropology genre. And I really like it as like it is like a dark academia, because you have everyone like writing their scientific like papers and journeying and asking questions, but they aren't in the library or in the traditional university setting. So if you like dark academia but wanting something a little different, you might like those anthropology type books if you haven't stumbled across them already. So these were my like true classics that I read. Still working on Ghosts. And I have a lot more classics on my to be read list, which I will share after I share a couple of more of the books I read in October. So I was trying to do like a seasonal fall. TBR, I am a mood reader and a seasonal reader. So I read The God of the Woods. This is definitely more of a, like, it's set in a summer camp. So I feel like it's like a late summer, early fall. But just with the trees on the cover and kind of the outdoorsy in the woods made me feel like it was very like fall appropriate. I liked this book, but I think it's just it was a good read. It was enjoyable. There were some twists. There was a lot of interesting characters. I do feel like it was pretty long, and I love a long book. And it's just something where, like, I'm glad I read it and I enjoyed it. I felt like it was very much, I could see this being adapted into one of those like Hulu Max mini series shows. So really fun. But again, just like why I've kind of been moving on to like older books is just, I don't think it's going to have that staying power for me. Same with The Year of Witching. Very like cool atmosphere, perfect for like October. yeah, I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the book while I was reading it. It did feel kind of like movie like. Um, this is like the opposite critique of this one, where I felt like I enjoyed the length of it. I feel like some authors could have extended this into like a trilogy, but it had like so much in it. If you do like fantasy adventure books, I think you'll really like this one. And again, I really enjoyed it. But it's just not going to be something I think that's as memorable for me. Though I don't think every book has to be. I think there are books that you read that kind of linger in your mind for a while, or kind of like form who you are. And then there are books that, like I said, can feel like a movie or a TV show. And sometimes you want kind of those books too. So I think those were all the books that I read in October. Oh, speaking of like fun TV show, movie, just like enjoyable books, I am still working through the Throne of Glass series. I've already read ACOTAR. I think most people start with that one. I haven't read Crescent City yet, so I'm still in the Throne of Glass part of the Sarah J. Massiverse. And I'm reading these in tandem, so I'm like this much through on both of them. So I feel like it's almost like I've read one of them, so I'm like halfway, but it's like it's time consuming to read them both together, and then I'm like keeping both of them by my bedside. But I am enjoying the pacing this way, reading them in tandem, because this one follows just a couple of our characters in the series, and so it's nice to kind of intersperse them with all of them. So I am enjoying Sarah J. Maas a lot. And so I thought that I would like some more of these like romantasy series. And I was like, oh, like some parts of it are a bit cliche, or it's like a little corny, but I really like enjoying them. They're fun. They're like page turnery. You like just keep going. There's always something new. The characters are sometimes a little cringe and sometimes a little generic. And I'm still not believing that like a 19-year-old skinny blonde girl is the best assassin in the whole wide world. But alas, here we are. So I was talking about these books with my friends, and so many of it we love them. They're great. So then some of my friends were then recommending me Fourth Wing. So I got Fourth Wing. I was like, okay, this will be fun. I get it that it's going to be a little like one step up above YA, which I do like some YA things, so nothing against that. I just mean, you know the vibe. And I was like, okay, cool. We'll do Dragon Riders Romantasy. I'm 44 pages in, and I don't know if I can do it, guys. Like, I can't, and it's really weird because I do like Sarah J. Maas, so I don't know why I just can't. I think it's almost like taking the Sarah J. Maas ones and then like putting them down a level, and like it's just that like threshold where I like a fantasy book, I like the action, I like the characters, I like the story, and then I just can't. I think I'm gonna have to redistribute this into the universe. I know a lot of people are going like this book and love it, but I can't waste any more of my time reading bad books. We do have a finite amount of time, and it's just not serving me. And so, I'm gonna Marie Kondo, like, thank you, but sorry, my friend book club that we are gonna do this for, I just can't do it. I don't think I can do it. But let me know if like I'm just at a pace where like it'll pick up, or I'll start to care about the characters more. But I don't know. I just already have like I don't know, because there is so much good, like interesting fantasy. And let me find another one of my books for like a classic fantasy. I read the first Tale of Earthsea. Like, look at this cover, isn't it so good? This is like a very 80s cover print. I got this when I was in Vancouver. We were at like a tiny bookshop, and I would rather spend my time reading some of the classics, I think. And so this is a very like modern classic. So this was first published in 1968. And it's a very different kind of writing in this book. Like it is more like kind of like straightforward, but it's just you can tell that it was like a first of its kind, that it's not just relaying on tropes on tropes on tropes. And yeah, so I think I'm just gonna be reading some older fantasy, even like some like 90s 2000s fantasy books. I'm like, I think I would rather read those right now, just because it is, like I said, I think it's really cool to see to read source material for things that just inspire so much of the modern stuff. It doesn't mean I won't keep reading modern books, but I think I'm just in my old school book era. Telling you, I still have more bookish things to talk to you about. Oh, so those are like recent reads, current reads, some of my thoughts on romantasy. Currently, I'm reading, and I think this is such a good November book, and that's Haruki Murakami's Norwegian Wood. This will be my first Murakami. I've had like some people who say they love it, some people say they haven't gotten into any of his work so far. I'm very very new into it, but I already can tell that I think I'm really gonna like this one. I'm on page 27. And I read the little introduction. I didn't know if I should because I haven't read it before and I didn't want necessarily spoilers. But it was so funny because at the end of his introduction, he's like, I haven't read this since it's published, so I don't even really remember what happened in it. And I was like, it's kind of funny. But he said that this was one of his books that doesn't have like a lot of surrealism. It was a very like realistic book, and that had some people really loving it and some people not loving it and thinking it was like a downgrade from his more surrealist style. But yeah, so this is my current book, and I think it's a really good November. Like there's been a few lines so far of talking about like just like autumn and November and October mornings, and right now they're at university, so it is like a very like, academic book so far. But I think it's going to follow throughout their life course. So that's what I'm reading now. And again, this isn't like a classic. I would say it's like a modern classic. This was written in like the late 80s. But there's just something about books that are still being recommended now they've like kind of passed the test of time a bit. And I think I need that test. I need some people to I need the bar a little higher, I think. My last stack of books are some of my like recent purchases, acquisitions that I'm gonna have on my like tentative winter TBR. This is probably too many books for me to finish. I would say like I'm kind of a slow reader. I'm persistent, but I'm kind of slow. But let me grab those. Here, just some books I think I'm gonna put on like keep in my mind of, hey, if I want to read something, this is like my short list of TBRs. Because my whole bookshelf is TBRs. So one of my TBRs is Beloved. It's a Toni Morrison book. I haven't read Toni Morrison before. I really want to. I came across this at like a half price books. I kind of love that it already has somebody's highlights in it. I think that's kind of fun. And their themes. Already feeling bitter and vulnerable. That's so cool. And so I'm really excited to read this and have this on my like short stack for winter. I wanted to read this during spooky season, and that's Frankenstein, but I didn't have a chance to read it. But I think in this like late November, autumny time, it'll still work. And this is like a true classic, and I'm really excited to dive into this. I also have Thomas Pynchon's V. This is a funny story. I've had this book for a while, and I just haven't, I guess, had the courage. I don't know. Like I actually started it in college, and then never finished it. And that was like a million years ago. But I think this winter season, I really want to read it. This will be my first pension, which is kind of weird. I don't think many people start with this, but like the funny story is that one of my favorite albums by Thrice is based on this book, The Heshu, and so I need to read it. Like I said, I just want to read all the source materials for all the like movies and music and books and things that I love. Like I want to know what inspired them. Like I want to read or watch or see like, yeah, that inspiration, like that core inspiration. I think that that's just really, the inspiration is inspiring me. So I have this one on my list. I've been really enjoying short stories lately. I think it's just I can read like one before bed. It gives me time like to think about it. And another book that's been on my that I've read a few short stories from, but I haven't picked up in a minute is N.K. Jemison's How Long Till Black Future Month. I read all of the fifth season series, and I love that. And I think that's going to be a modern classic for fantasy. And so I think there are those books out there. So I don't want to just hate on all modern, like new books. Just that, just something like you just have to. They're out there. They're going to be classics. There are books that are going to be classics, but if I'm not vibing with them, I'm just not gonna keep reading them. So I want to read more of these short stories. I like having like some sci-fi fantasy things to read. So this is on my winter list. This next one is also going to be another modern book that I've just been hearing so much about this author, and I haven't read anything yet. And when I saw it was on Book of the Month, I just thought I would get it. I really do love the Weird Girl lit, and I feel like this author comes up a lot in those Weird Girl lit recommendations, and so I had to add this on as like my birthday month book of the month, and I think it'll be good. So let's hope that it's good. And I just love this cover, and I have a sister, and so I love like sibling bond, like sister bond books, and so I'm excited to read that. And I feel like this cover is very wintry with like the white and blue. Okay, I think I will stop showing you all a bunch of books because that was a lot of info. I have even more that I was going to show, but I'm like, okay, I need to stop. And my reading goal for today is going to be finishing another story in my Ghost Stories book. I bought the Mr. Jones story. Like I said, I only have a couple left. The last ones are all a little longer. So I'm going to finish one or more of those stories and read more Norwegian Wood. And yeah, these are my two books for today. A good mix, I think. And another, as I was saying with my interest more in the classics, and that I was like taking pictures of all these pages of books, and that there's just so many like quotable moments and imagery and turns of phrases and words that I've had to look up, is that I've been really wanting to make a reading journal. I track all of my books on, I actually use both Goodreads and my Storygraph, which is like a newer one. I've been really liking my Storygraph because I really like their genre pie chart. It's really fun. I'll have to put my my genre chart on the screen. So I track my reading that way, but I don't have any place where I like put all my like the quotes that I really liked, or just like thoughts that I had on the book, or like I said, like I wonder if I keep a list of like the words that I've looked up because I want to use those in everyday language. So I bought this journal, Select Term. These are my favorite notebooks with the dot grid, and I got in this pretty like teal blue color. And I got these fun stickers from Urban Outfitters. And there's just so many. So here's like the mushrooms. There's a lot of like celestial, like spooky fairies. I could just like flip through all these pages and just show you every single. Like, look at these. They're so pretty. And so I want to use these like write the book that I read, write all the quotes and things, and like just decorate it with some of these. I think I'll give it like a vintage vibe, and I think it'll be nice to really like write things down and yeah, kind of like being in school again, doing the themes like this. Like I said, the person who's like writing in the margins in here, it'll be nice to like have those written down. So I think we'll do this together as well. Some reading, decorate our journal, and just have like a cozy reading day.
Keep all your game, highs and lows, highs and lows. It's all the same, highs and lows, highs and lows. Keep all your game, highs and lows, highs and lows. It's all the same, highs and lows, highs and lows.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed spending the day with me in this very reading themed vlog. Let me know what books you're reading down below. I would love to hear recommendations. Let me know what you thought of my like thought process on reading lately. I'm really curious if anyone else has kind of been a bit like jaded by new releases. Yeah, and yeah, let me know what classics you have on your to be read list or ones that you recommend for like a newbie classics reader. And don't forget to check out Pique Tea for some of their Black Friday deals, and especially for the chai if you love a cinnamon, cardamom, ginger just cup of deliciousness, or if you need some vitamin C this winter. I think we all could use a little immune boost and some radiance, so definitely check these out. And I will see you next time.